Okay, so what I thought we would do today is look at some acupressure points that can be used to deal with smoke inhalation on the lungs. And, you know, with all the air pollution that we've been having, the smoke from these fires that have been burning throughout the country this summer, and if you're in Canada, well, I mean, our whole country's been on fire, but even if you're in the States, you know, Americans have been getting a lot of the smoke coming down in, well, the northern states anyway. If you've been watching the air quality index, you've seen the alarming warnings, and these are still going on in Alberta and Saskatchewan, and the summer isn't over yet. So the people that I'm most concerned about are the people with pre-existing lung conditions who can experience an exacerbation of their pre-existing lung conditions, so just having a harder time breathing than usual. I'm also very concerned about babies and young children, and the reason is that they have a faster breathing rate than the rest of the population. So when the breathing rate is faster, right, we're breathing in more polluted air. And so a young child from 1 to 5 years old has a breathing rate on average of about 40 breaths per minute. Babies have an average breathing rate of 60 breaths per minute. So just think of how much smoky air is going into their lungs. Okay, so your average healthy adult has a breathing rate between 12 and 18 breaths per minute. Now, adults with underlying health issues will also have a faster breathing rate, can be anywhere from 18 to 28. I've seen 28 breaths per minute. I've been able to take, these cases and bring their breath rate down to healthy range, 18, 20, it's a little bit high still, but you know what I'm saying. Optimizing lung health so that breathing becomes more efficient. Those who practice yoga and meditation over the long haul, we can see yogis, people that practice a lot of yoga and meditation, they can have uncontrolled, like unregulated, right? They're not practicing an exercise. This is just their normal breathing rate when they're just going about their day. They can have a breathing rate sometimes 9 breaths per minute, sometimes 7 breaths per minute, and it's really about optimizing lung function, about breath efficiency. Okay, so anyway, that I could do a whole other video just on that, but all this to say that faster breathing equals more air pollution coming into the lungs. Okay, so today what I thought I would show you is 2 acupressure points on the hand that are going to support the lungs. These acupressure points are called Cheng Xian and Cheng Zhi. So these points are located on the lung channel. If we imagine a straight line from the center of the wrist crease here and the fold in the skin at the thumb here, if we imagine a straight line, I'm just going to hold this up to show you, then these 2 points are located on this line. Okay. So the lung system, of course, works to circulate energy, think oxygen, and fluids throughout the body. When the lungs are compromised, the blood doesn't get oxygenated properly. Poorly oxygenated blood doesn't move well in the body. When the blood's not moving, then we get pain. So if we look at pictures under a microscope, right, live blood cell analysis, we can see pictures of poorly oxygenated blood. So we can look at this picture here. You can see where the blood is clumping, right? And where this blood is clumping, right? It's not really moving. Does this look like good blood that is flowing and taking all the nutrients and oxygen to all the tissues of the body where it needs to go? Or does it look like stuck blood? Does it look like unhealthy, lumpy, lazy blood that isn't really going anywhere? So we're going to first locate this first point here. And so one easy way to do that is we can take our opposite thumb. We look at the crease of the thumb joint here, and we line up this thumb crease with our wrist crease here. We line these two areas up, and naturally our thumb, the end of our thumb, is going to fall into a little depression. There's a little depression here. When you get used to doing acupressure, you'll get familiar with finding these little depressions in the body where many of the acupressure points fall into. So that measures your first point. And then in a straight line, your second point, it's about the same amount of distance, right? If we just try to measure here and come up the same distance, you'll find another little depression in this same line here. So I'm just going to mark these points just to make it easier for you to see. Okay, so there's point 1. I know this is terrible. I'm using a pen, but if I was more prepared, I would get a eyeliner pencil. But anyhow, there we go. So we can see it's about equidistant, these 3 points. Sorry, from the wrist crease to the crease of the thumb here. And so these points, Chengxian and Chengzhi, we're going to apply acupressure. Okay, so here, let's get rid of that. Here I've got a nice acupressure tool, gua sha tool. So this is just a little jade tool. They all have different kind of ends on them. So you can find a pointy end and you can just apply pressure. Now this is quite a meaty area, so your acupressure can be quite deep, right? Because we want to get right into that meat, right? So pressure here, you can wiggle it around. You want to be able to feel a little bit of tenderness, a little bit of something happening. It doesn't need to be terribly uncomfortable. It just needs to feel like there's some movement here. Some little bit of tenderness tells us there's some action going on. Okay, same with this one here. Now these are 2 points on the same channel. This is what's called in acupuncture, it's called a Dao Ma. So this is where 2 or 3 points on a line, right, on a line of the acupuncture channel are going to have a greater effect if we do them together than the effect of just doing 1 point alone, or this one separately. So in this way, what you want to do is do your acupressure on both points at the same time. Okay, this is where 1 + 1 does not equal 2. Here, 1 + 1 equals 3. The effect of doing both the points together is greater. Okay, so this is not the best tool for this set of points, but just to show you gua sha tools. Here's another gua sha tool. This is quite a common version of it. So here you can see this end, we've got a couple of points. They're not quite as pointy, but it'll work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just line up these two ends to my acupressure points, and you can see they line up quite nicely. So I'm just going to press them right like this, and I'm going to go nice and hard so that I can feel that. All right, now I'm starting to feel it. Okay, and so I would go like this, you know, for a good 5 minutes or so. You know, take a little break if you need to, but you know, go into it. You know, let it do its work. What I typically do is I'll do 5 minutes on one side, right, and then I'll switch hands and I'll go to the other side. I'll go there for a few minutes and then back and forth like that. Okay, so we can just do this together, working our acupressure. You can also do it with your couple of fingers. You could just come in like that. You just come in like that and do your pressure that way. Be another way you can do it. Let's just talk about the benefits of working these points. So the lungs are called the delicate organ in Oriental medicine, and it's because they directly open to the outside. You know, think through the nose and through the mouth. They have direct contact with the outside world, so they're vulnerable to whatever's going on in the environment. The lungs are also an important detox pathway. You know, the body is using its detox pathways to clear out, clean up toxins in the body. So we need to keep our detox pathways strong, clear, functioning at their optimal level. And so, you know, you can just think about the toxic burden of living in our modern world, right? I think we can all understand air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, pesticides. I mean, where do we where do we even begin with that? So obviously our modern world, where our bodies are exposed to a lot of toxins, and one of the main things we need to do with our health is keep our detox pathways open. So the lungs are one of those pathways. So these points, Chengxian, Chengzhi, help to clear both internal invasions and external invasions. Okay, so external invasions, that's what we're really talking about here today. That's anything coming from the outside air. So that can be smoky air, hot air, cold air, air that's too dry, air that's too damp. This could be just, you know, living in a big city kind of air. This can be chemtrail air, you know. Where do we even begin? So you name it. And these wildfires, think, you know, the smoke is not just coming from some lovely Canadian pine trees that are burning. The smoke is coming from everything that's in the way, everything that's in the path of those wildfires. If, you know, if there's plastics there, the plastics are burning, and that's what we're breathing in. It's anything and everything. So the lungs have to deal with all of that, and these are the points for doing that job. Now, when we release an external invasion, it means we're helping the lungs to push out whatever's come in from the outside air. So we want to understand that when the lungs are cleaning up this whole mess, that there may be an increase in coughing, an increase in phlegm production. Maybe before we didn't have phlegm production and now we have phlegm production, or more phlegm than we had before. And this is really a good sign, because the lungs need to, the lungs are using the phlegm to expectorate all of that pollution, all that. So this is where we need to understand that we're just supporting the lungs in doing what they already want to do, which is to be clean and clear so that they can pick up all that oxygen and take it to the blood, and that can oxygenate our tissues. So if you have any pre-existing lung conditions, if you have asthma, if you have chronic cough, if you have COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, if you've got a case of bronchitis, a case of pneumonia, frequent, colds and flus even, anything that is interfering with the breathing process, now you have a plan. Now you've got an acupressure plan to add to your regime. So thank you for joining in today. I look forward to connecting with you again in the next video.